Hello, everyone. Welcome to this presentation on how cotton shaped the United States. In this presentation, we'll explore how a single crop influenced the economy, society, and politics of a nation, leaving a legacy that resonates to this day. Cotton's story starts thousands of years ago. The oldest known cotton fabric was discovered at Huaca Prieta in Peru, dating back to around 6000 BCE. This shows that ancient civilizations valued cotton for its versatility. By 3000 BCE, people in Mexico and parts of what is now Arizona were growing and processing cotton using their local environments to cultivate this important crop. Cotton fibers were spun into threads and woven into fabrics, showcasing advanced skills in textiles. This shows its importance to humanity long before the modern world begins. The arrival of Europeans in the Americas in the late 15th and early 16th centuries marked a turning point for cotton. While indigenous people in America already cultivated cotton, Europeans saw the potential for large-scale production. They began expanding cotton farming, particularly in areas with fertile soil and favorable climates, like the southeastern United States. Cotton wasn't just a crop, it became part of a larger economic system that linked the Americas to Europe and beyond. Europeans aimed to profit from cotton's value as a demand for cotton textiles soared. This expansion from Europe, however, came with massive cost. Colonists displaced indigenous populations to take control of land, which set the stage for a brutal economic system that relied on forced labor. Cotton was about to become one of the driving forces of the global economy and the foundation of the Southern economy in America. To maximize profits, colonists established the triangular trade system. Manufactured goods were exchanged from Europe to Africa for enslaved people. These enslaved individuals were forcibly and brutally transported to the Americas, enduring inhumane conditions on the Middle Passage. In the Americas, they were forced to work on plantations, growing cotton and other cash crops that were shipped back to Europe. This system of trade was immensely profitable for European nations, but it relied on violence, exploitation, and oppression. The triangular trade laid the foundation for the economic structure of the Americas, with cotton at the center of this brutal system. By the time that the United States was founded in 1776, cotton had already become a major agricultural product in the South. The rich, fertile soils of states like Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama made the region perfect for cotton farming. As demand for cotton grew, especially in Europe, the southern United States became known as the Cotton Kingdom. Cotton wasn't just an economic success, it shaped the entire social and cultural fabric of the South. Wealthy plantation owners built their fortunes on cotton production, and enslaved labor became the backbone of the industry. Meanwhile, in the North, they began to develop a more industrialized economy, leading to a stark contrast between the two regions. Cotton connected the United States to the global economy, but it also deepened division and tension within its own country. In 1793, Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin, a machine that revolutionized the cotton industry. Before this invention, separating cotton fibers from seeds was a slow and labor intensive process. Whitney's cotton gin made it possible to process cotton quickly and efficiently, leading to a massive boom in production. Southern plantations expanded and cotton goods soared, cementing the United States as the global leader in cotton production at the time. However, this technological advancement had unintended consequences because it increased the demand for land and labor, leading to the expansion of plantations into new territories and a dramatic increase in the use of enslaved labor. The massive boom in cotton production enriched the South, but it also deepened its dependence on slavery, further embedding it into its society. The rapid growth of the cotton industry in the 19th century meant a growing need for labor. In the South, this labor was provided almost entirely by enslaved people. By 1860, nearly 4 million enslaved individuals worked in the United States, with the majority toiling on cotton plantations. By 1850, the United States was the #1 world leader producer of cotton. The South had a vast plantation with fertile soil that allowed for unmatched levels of production of cotton. Meanwhile, in the North, they further embraced industrialization, building factories that processed the raw cotton into textiles. For the South, cotton wasn't just an economic staple, it was their way of life, and slavery was just essential to maintain their lifestyle. But these opposing systems would eventually bring the North and South into a direct conflict, with cotton and slavery being at the center of this debate. And so, the cotton industry and slavery were the core to the Civil War. The Civil War was one of the most brutal and conflicts of American history, with up to 750,000 people who died. To this day, this is the deadliest American war ever. On average, it's about 425 people per day that was killed throughout its duration. So it was obviously just a devastating time for the nation and left deep scars on both the North and the South. Despite the immense loss of life and property, the war ended slavery, and it began the slow and painful process of rebuilding the nation. However, the end of slavery didn't mean the end of struggles for African Americans, especially in the South, where cotton industry tried to find new ways to maintain control over labor. Sharecropping emerged as the dominant labor system. Freed African Americans and poor white farmers worked in the land in exchange for a share of the crop. While this system provided some independence, it often trapped sharecroppers into cycles of debt. Landowners manipulated contracts to keep workers bound to the land, creating a new form of economic exploitation. At the same time, Jim Crow laws enforced racial segregation and inequality, denying African Americans the full benefits of their freedom. The cotton industry recovered, but it remained tied to systems of oppression. For many, life after the Civil War felt like a continuation of the struggles that they faced under slavery. Despite the end of slavery, the South remained heavily reliant on cotton. This dependence created major vulnerabilities as other countries began producing cotton and global competition increased. So this drove cotton prices down and the economy suffered. The lack of economic diversification left the Southern economy weak and unable to recover quickly from economic downturns. Meanwhile, in the North, with its industrial economy, it grew wealthier and more advanced. This economic imbalance deepened the divide between the two regions after the war. Starting in the early 20th century, millions of African Americans left the South during the Great Migration. Seeking better opportunities and an escape from the racism of Jim Crow South, they moved to cities in the North and West. This migration was transformative for the United States as it reshaped the cultural and political landscape. In northern cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New York, African Americans found jobs in factories and other industries, contributing to the urban economy. The Great Migration also sparked cultural movements like the Harlem Renaissance, which celebrated African American culture, as this movement helped to reshape the United States identity. Then comes along the Great Depression of the 1930s, and it hit the cotton-dependent South especially hard. Cotton prices plummeted, leaving farmers unable to pay debts or support their families. The South, already economically weaker than the North, faced even greater hardships during this time. Communities struggled to survive as the collapse of the cotton industry rippled throughout the region. The Great Depression exposed the vulnerabilities of relying on a single crop for economic stability. It also showed the need for government support to help struggling farmers and stabilize the economy. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal introduced programs to support struggling farmers. The Agricultural Adjustment Act, or AAA, was designed to stabilize prices by reducing crop production. Farmers were paid to leave some fields unplanted, which helped raise cotton prices. While the AAA provided relief to landowners, many sharecroppers and tenant farmers didn't benefit, as landowners often kept the payments for themselves. Still, these programs marked the beginning of a new era of federal involvement in agriculture. The New Deal aimed to modernize farming practices and create a more sustainable agricultural economy, laying the groundwork for the Southeast's eventual economic recovery. And the 1950s and 60s brought the Green Revolution, a period of significant technological advancements in agriculture. For the cotton industry, this meant new machinery, better fertilizers, and advanced irrigation systems that dramatically increased efficiency. These innovations in agriculture reduced the need for manual labor on cotton fields, further evolving the South's economy. The Green Revolution signaled the end of an era for the traditional cotton farming and highlighted the growing influence of technology in shaping the agricultural landscape. But the legacy of cotton and its ties to slavery and racism are deeply woven into American culture that we see today. Artwork such as Jacob Lawrence's Migration series depicts the journey that many African Americans experienced in the Great Migration. Additionally, Aaron Douglas's Song of Towers symbolizes the struggle for freedom and opportunity amid systemic racism. Jazz legend Louis Armstrong, a product of the Great Migration, used his music to reflect the joys and struggles of African American life. These cultural works remind us of how deeply cotton's history and societal impacts are embedded in America. Art and music can serve as powerful tools for social commentary and change, and we will continue to see the legacy of cotton in American artwork. The 1960s civil rights movement aimed to dismantle the economic and social inequalities rooted in the South's history of slavery. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and organizations such as the NAACP fought against Jim Crow laws, voter suppression, and systemic discrimination. The civil rights movement paved the way for ongoing efforts to address racial and economic disparities that trace back to the cotton economy's exploitative roots. There are many aspects of America today that were shaped by the Cotton Kingdom and Jim Crow laws. One prominent example is the racial income gap. On average, African American households earn less than their white counterparts, a disparity rooted in centuries of economic exclusion in the United States. Additionally, the fight for civil rights and economic justice has often aligned with liberal policies advocating for greater government intervention, social welfare programs, and equal opportunity initiatives. As a result, African Americans overwhelmingly support the Democratic Party, which they see as a championing these causes. These political alignment underscores the enduring impact of historical inequities as communities continue to push for policies that address the longstanding effects of systemic racism. Today, the United States remains a leading producer of cotton, but farming practices have changed significantly since the days of the Cotton Kingdom, obviously. Modern technologies and techniques focus on sustainability and efficiency. Advances like genetically modified cotton, drip irrigation, and precision agriculture have reduced the environmental impact of cotton farming. By prioritizing sustainable practices, the industry aims to ensure that cotton continues to be a valuable resource without repeating any of the mistakes of the past. Today, as we move forward towards more sustainable practices, it's important to recognize and reflect cotton's history and its lessons. And by understanding the past, we can work toward a future that values sustainability, equity, and progress. So thank you for your attention during this presentation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.